I've been hearing about this April 8th eclipse, man. Let's learn about this a little bit more. I'm hearing this one might be a doozy. I'm more so speaking on the conspiracies that are associated with this April 8th eclipse. That's what I'm speaking on. You know, that's more so my neck of the woods. All right, there we go. All right, so Newsweek looks like we have something in regards to that. So solar eclipse sparks wild conspiracy theories. Let's get into this story real quick. Says here, social media has become awash with conspiracy theories over the upcoming total solar eclipse that will affect millions of Americans next month. A total eclipse will be experienced in 13 states on April 8th, a rare astronomical event in which the skies briefly turn dark during daylight hours. Such events take place when the moon passes between the sun and the earth, completely blocking the face of the sun. But despite the perfectly reasonable scientific explanation for why the eclipse is happening, it hasn't stopped conspiracy theorists from drumming up wild theories about the forthcoming astronomical event. Known conspiracy theorist Alex Jones, shout out to Alex Jones, posted a nearly 8-minute long video on X, formerly Twitter, which claimed that the eclipse is a sign from God and that the Department of Homeland Security is preparing to, quote, hijack the so-called biblical event. That's the version I want to see. Let's toggle over to Alex Jones real quick. That's my guy. We all love a good conspiracy theory from time to time, don't we? Alex Jones. See if I can find this clip in particular that they're referring to. So yeah, I mean, there's been clips while I look through that. Yeah, there's been, solar eclipse before. They've come, they've gone. Nothing's been too crazy about those, right? But of course, there's been speculation that this coming solar eclipse, again on April 8th, is going to be a little bit different than the ones prior. People are associating it with some biblical references. People are saying, it'll put us in darkness for a little longer than a few hours, whatever the case is. As I always mention, I never eliminate anything as a possibility. I think if anything, we're maybe questioning the likelihood, how likely is it to happen, but I never rule out anything as completely impossible. So that's just me. I want to see if I can find this clip.
The biblical implications are massive. Monday, April 8th, 2024, a total solar eclipse will shadow North America, crossing Mexico, the United States, and Canada, passing over 8 United States cities named Nineveh, drawing a myriad of similarities to the Syrian eclipse that occurred during the time when Jonah approached Nineveh and urged the Assyrian people to repent. Mathematically speaking, the astronomy of an eclipse is a miracle. Confronted by a new world order and a U.S. president that is carrying out their silent war, we are living in a time of reckoning, and through signs, God is speaking directly to those with ears to listen.
In Genesis 1:14, God declared the sun and the moon were for signs.
Right.
The only signs they can give is eclipses. All right. And the nice thing about eclipses, no false prophet can manipulate it. Solar eclipse means judgment is coming upon a nation. Since we become a nation in 1776, there has only been 8 total solar eclipses that have completely crossed the United States. 2 of them occurred during the Revolutionary War. 3 of them occurred during the Civil War. 2 of them occurred during the Vietnam War. Of those 8, only 1, which was the one 7 years ago, it only crossed the United States and no other country.
Exodus 4:8. Remember, April 8th. If they do not believe the first sign, which was on August 21st, 2017, they will believe the second sign.
That said, why has Homeland Security been preparing to hijack this biblical event?
The director of the Lake County Emergency Management Agency told me they've been preparing for the solar eclipse now for about 2 years.
They've been preparing for this for 2 years. Imagine that, for 2 years. He said, during the solar eclipse, while people are all out there looking, they're planning, the intel that they've got is a possible biological attack on people while the solar eclipse is freaking happening.
Like, here's from Kenton County, Homeland Security, and Emergency Management. Here's what you should do before. Ensure you have a full gas tank. Ensure you are stocked on groceries. Have alternative communications. For an eclipse that's going to last about an hour. And here's another one. Buy necessary groceries and gas. Expect heavy traffic and long lines for local services.
Oklahoma, the National Guard will have guardsmen present for the total solar eclipse on April 8th. Communication facilities could become overloaded, possibly making cell phone calls difficult.
All right. So there you heard it, folks. I don't really know how much I could really take away from that. I mean, again, you saw the clip. Make of that what you will. Am I sitting here telling you that something's gonna happen during the solar eclipse on April 8th? Not necessarily. Some of you may or may not even be aware that an eclipse is happening on April 8th. So now you know, at least you know that much. But I will say this, and of course that's what I always say on all of this. I don't consider myself a conspiracy theorist. Yeah, there's some things that I just don't buy. You know, I'm able to call out the bullshit, as I usually say. But my main thing is just that I don't put nothing past nothing. Don't put nothing past nothing. So, you know, it's just good to be aware that there's a collective of people out there that believe this eclipse is going to be a little bit different than the ones from before. And again, you'll probably say, well, hey man, there's been plenty of eclipses. I've been watching eclipses, this, that, and the other year, and I get you. But I feel like even just the times that we're in our world right now, I don't put nothing past nothing, bro. Look what happens on a regular day, let alone a world event or a U.S. event, whatever the case that's going to be happening in select U.S. states, whatever the case is. Of course, you saw the map. Total eclipse will be experienced in 13 of the 50 states, of course, on April 8th. And I do know it's usually an event. I feel like I've seen some eclipses. I remember in elementary school, we definitely did that before. I forgot, this was some time ago for me, but remember they had us looking through, I forgot what it was. We had like glasses or whatever it was that they gave us, and we were all kind of looking up. They created these little mechanisms. I think we looked through like a plate. It was something like that. But so yeah, they can be fun. I think it is cool. But then even just thinking from like a spiritual perspective, like the moon aligning with the sun, for all of you astrology folks out there and your stars and your, whatever the case is. What do you make of it, man? Is this one going to be a little bit different? The only reason why, and this might sound a little bit whatever, but I personally don't think anything's going to happen on April 8th besides just the eclipse. I think that it'll do its course. The sun will block the moon, or the moon will block the sun, however it goes, for however long, and then it'll move out the way as it usually does and keep it pushing. People are aware of this like solar flares, right? So of course you heard people talk about preparations, how communications may go down as well too. If you guys are familiar with the solar flare is when there's basically like an eruption, I guess you could say, not of the sun, but there's like a flare. It's a flare basically that basically has the potential of shattering all communication systems. So again, the Wi-Fi, the electric grid, things of that nature. So these are just things to be aware of, man. Again, I'm not necessarily going to say that something is going to happen on April 8th during the solar eclipse. But I'm also not saying that nothing is going to happen either. I just feel like just be aware. So it doesn't hurt you to have plan of action. It doesn't hurt you to have, as you should have been having, some type of strategy in the case of, some type of event, communication with your loved ones, extra stock of food, water, whatever the case is. I know I'll try to do that around that time as well too. And kind of just go from there. I do think the timing of everything is a little bit interesting. If you are aware as well too, I'll probably do a separate video on this later, but a few days after this solar eclipse, so the solar eclipse is going to be taking place on April 8th. On April 12th, which is of course just a few days later, the Civil War movie is set to hit the theaters. Of course, I've spoken out on a few videos before. Civil War movie that's coming out in theaters, which is uniquely titled, if you ask me. And just the trying times that we're kind of going through right now. You got elections coming up. You already got the rumblings of some, all the things that's happening in the world, the borders, things that's happening on the borders, things that are happening outside of America, things that are happening inside of America, all these migrants, this, that, and the other. And then you have a movie called Civil War coming out a few days after a solar eclipse on April 12th. So just things to be aware of, folks. Again, it doesn't hurt to be aware, right? For some of you, all of this is new to you. You've maybe not heard of the movie. You've not heard of the solar eclipse. You don't know what the hell is going on. And I always frown upon that. Educate yourself. And once you acquire some knowledge, you pass that on to your friends and family and your loved ones as well too, all those that are willing to listen. But what are your thoughts, folks? I'd love to hear it. What do you make of this solar eclipse set to take place April 8th? Do you think anything will come from it? Is it just going to be just a regular solar eclipse just like the others have been in our history? Or will this one in particular be a little bit different? Do you believe in any conspiracy theories that have to do with end times and signs from the stars and the moon and the sun? Again, I'm not one to knock anybody's beliefs, man. Just because I don't believe something doesn't mean it's not true. Just because you believe something doesn't mean that it is true. I should say that as well too. So I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below. What are you doing to prepare for the solar eclipse? Are you actually going to watch the solar eclipse? Or are you just going to be at home? What are the cases? Do you care for these things at all? I'd love to hear it down in the comment section. As always, the comments, the likes, the subscribes are all greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will catch you on the next one.